Welcome to GameBreakers. My name is Thomas. I am here with, everybody say your names at once.
Diamond.
That actually came out all at once. Allison, David, and Diamond are here. And today we are getting back into the Bard's Tale campaign after a break. We all had life stuff that comes up in the transition between spring and fall, right? Which tragically trumps our delightful game time. But meanwhile, to get back into it, we're going to do a campaign diary. So we're going to kind of go just episode by episode, talk about what we remember, our highlights, the fun stuff. I'm probably going to talk about how far our production values have come and are also going to go. And that is our format for tonight. So, welcome back, everybody.
Woo.
We all had adult accomplishments. It was cool.
I accomplished nothing. Nothing.
Every day you accomplish a little bit. So, our first posted episode was Struana's character creation. I had hoped to get character creation up for you guys, for everybody as well, but alas and alack, schedules and stuff. But we started with character creation, so let's everybody just kind of give a brush up on who your character is, what you do, how you got to where you got, why you made some of the character creation decisions you did. Let's start with Struana, since hers is the one that's posted.
Okay, and I'll probably be talking over a few episodes later, so that makes sense too. I mean, I like bards. I've always liked the idea of bards, and I didn't realize till I started looking at it that the 5th edition rules actually sort of unnerfs them, that they're suddenly actually valuable to play instead of just sort of like, derp de derp, I made the music.
I have played cool bards in many editions, but
But it did make it more difficult as like an individual sort of thing. And since we'd initially began there, it was like, well, can this happen?
Right.
And then, getting to play an overall cheerful dwarf with bagpipes, I can't help how much fun that sounds to my head. As much as I know it's like this terrible cliche, it still makes me really happy to be able to be doing it.
Well, you gotta lean into the trope.
A well-done trope is still a trope, but you can't tell stories really without them. That's kind of why they're tropes.
Right. And in character creation, you hadn't really developed quite the fascination with fire that you did.
No. that it was just, I was going to straight play it, and then you're like, and then it was you get all these free ones. I'm like, oh, fire's kind of always a useful sort of spell class to have, a useful thing to have, and then it just, I don't know how well it worked. I think that it is partially you play the game based on the rules you get. And that happens not just at a momentary level, but also sort of at a meta level, where the character develops based on what you use. I'm more likely to use spells that I'm able to successfully get off, regardless of what the percentage chance is. If it just seems to happen that these fire spells keep working better, like, okay, guess we're a fire bard then. And it just, at some point looking at feats, it was like, oh, I have a bunch of fire spells. I could be a fire bard.
Right. The elemental adept feat that you picked up eventually that really leaned hard into the fire thing. But yeah, that wasn't at character creation. That wasn't really what you were thinking.
No.
But we also started you out like we'll get into the next episode. But started you out like literally not even on the boat yet. You weren't fresh off the boat. You were getting onto the boat. So you didn't really know where your career was going to go. Who does after college?
Yeah. Well, most people who graduate these days, because I don't know about you, but student loans are a Son of a biscuit eater.
So the next character that got created and introduced was Stan. So we'll go from there. Stan, tell us a little about yourself and how you got to be that way.
Yes, Stan Smith, human paladin. He's got black hair and he's grown up mostly amongst dwarves, and he carries a hammer and he hits things. And I like Stan because he's fairly, I wouldn't say he's simple, but, you know, he makes decisions quickly, and he takes decisive action, and it's not always maybe optimal in the eyes of bards and rangers, but, you know, that's, I don't know, I like playing his, playing his traits. He's very strong and very he's charismatic and very and tough. But he's not.
You know, one of those emotionally complex paladins. You know, rude. He's got
no. I mean, he's more likely to buy you a drink than anything. You know, it's I realize his personality is really. The Ghost of Christmas Present from the Muppet Christmas Carol. That's kind of the personality I go for.
I can see that. I can, as it's playing out.
Come in and know me, the man.
That's a specific reference, but we all know exactly what you're talking about.
So that's kind of the direction I take his personality. And and he's fun to play.
Right. I occasionally, and it's very much the same type of character. I occasionally, when I've been looking for stuff to inspire Stan, have run across like a young Brian Blessed.
Yeah, that's fairly appropriate. He's pretty white bread. I mean, white guy. He's pretty, any white guy with dark hair would be probably appropriate. That's thick in body.
Right. Interestingly, though, grew up as the minority in your city district.
Yeah. That's
especially
probably
when it comes to governmental.
You having a different perspective. Something what was I going to say about Stan? Something that's hard for me to play about Stan is that he's lawful, and after just years of playing Shadowrun and averting the law and trying to get around points and things, just being the kind of guy that walks up to the police officer and is like, "Here's all my paperwork." It's just a little different. But real life me is like, can't we just go around this?
What if we just see? The last character to join the band so far has been Cliq Claq the Gnome. David, why don't you tell me all about Cliq Claq?
Cliq Claq's a gnome. He's a inventor first, ranger second. I liked the idea of a analytical nature magic user. Oh god!
He got so excited, he dropped his phone.
I have it on this suction cup thing, and the suction cup doesn't like to cup or suction.
Lick it.
So rarely is that a solution.
Right? Usually good advice, rarely a solution.
I think my food might be here. Hang on.
Okay. Briefly, Allison, could you maybe turn on the counter light? You're very backlit. You're not the villain.
Are you sure?
I checked.
You don't have to be backlit to be the villain, whether it be greed, lust, or just plain vindictiveness. There's a level of malevolence inside of all of us. mean, I don't often get to quote Scroobius Pip and have it like be appropriate for the situation, so I sort of had to take that second.
What? There's a Scroobius Pip line for everything. What are you talking about?
Often when I have good comebacks or one-liners, I'm at work and can't use them.
It's true. It's true. And Scroobius Pip is really hard to remember and or to just rattle off. It's very intricate poetry.
Never question Stephen Fry.
Thou shalt not question Stephen Fry.
Yes.
Yeah, out of context, people don't find that very funny, I have found.
I have to go back and rewatch the video where he shaved his beard. I haven't seen it for a while.
Does good things for you.
Dan Lassac is on Twitch. He's got a Twitch channel. You can just go fucking hang out with Dan Lassac while he plays video games. I haven't done it. It's delightful. He's an excellent.
So you're gonna keep in this. We're gonna keep in this chunk too, right?
I hope so.
Don't edit it out. It's good.
Right. Our outtakes and highlights. Right. Because, I mean, it's been memorialized in video now that you can just rattle off Scroobius Pip. We need people to know that. That's important information. So the last member to join our merry band was Cliq Claq the Gnome, played by David. David, tell us all about Cliq Claq, how he came to be. We revised him after a couple of sessions, too, because...
better range rules came out to make them less ineffective. Cliq Claq's a gnome. Tinker and Inventor first, Ranger second. I really liked the idea of a analytical nature magic user. That amused me. Just how a scientific mind makes magic work for themselves. Yeah. I've played the weird inventor character the most when in my role-playing career. For any Critical Role fans, the Percy archetype is just my wheelhouse. I've been that guy so many times. But I'm usually either weird inventor, like skill monkey guy who makes a bunch of stuff for the party, or I'm DPS with a pet. And so this time I combined the two. And a gnome ranger with a giant crab named Lovelace, which is a really nerdy reference for those who get it. Yeah, very, very studious and has spent way more time in the workshop than among people, so a lot of social stuff he doesn't get, which I always find amusing. That naivete I find hilarious. Yeah, his ranger obligations and his work with the druids are more just, he views more as just a part-time job. Like, he's reverential and respectful, but it's secondary to him gaining knowledge and, building on his intellect.
Right. And the way I've got my druids in the world, the druid groves are kind of just like, it's paying your dues to the co-op, basically. Like, a couple menial tasks, somebody has to do the dishes. And they don't expect everybody to devote all of their time to the tree. Because then how would you adventure?
Yeah.
So as we mentioned, the Ranger revised rules came out after you created Cliq Claq and we discovered them. But it didn't change your concept much, really, just your execution.
Yeah, I looked at the rules and the new rules didn't seem to really affect anything it didn't seem to affect the character in any narrative ways that didn't jive. Right. it just seems to make Rangers finally more effective.
Right. It made the rules. I feel like the Ranger Revised rules are a much better match to the concept of a beast companion ranger.
Definitely.
And that giant crab, by the way, is a beast companion. Like, Lovelace has endeared herself to the team a lot. I've noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I play guy with pet a lot, and quite often one of the drawbacks is it's a animal, and animals are squishy. And I mean, I like crabs anyway; they're one of my favorite animals. But it's the closest nature has come to inventing a tank.
Right, maybe a turtle. Like it's in the running, but yeah, and you
turtle doesn't have the giant front weapons.
Yeah,
turtle has a shell it retracts into. A crab will still mess you up hardcore with his arms.
And yet, so delicious.
Yes,
just like turtles.
I wouldn't know.
It's why they have to be tough, because they're so delicious. Trivia: they couldn't get any live specimens back from the Galapagos to the British Museum of Natural Science for the longest time because they kept getting eaten on the way. It's too delicious. Anyway. So has CliqClaq kind of progressed the way you like as you were thinking of the career?
I had an objective concept for him, but I've sort of been figuring out his personality as we went along. I don't know if that's obvious. I knew the descriptors and everything I mentioned, but I wasn't sure how that was going to translate. And so that's been developing as we go along, and as he has to talk to more people.
You seem to play the straight man a lot.
He's not socially experienced enough to be sarcastic. You know?
Right.
There's a level required to be a commentator, and he doesn't have that. He's too busy trying to analyze everyone and understand what they're trying to tell him and what he needs to do, and turn off the part of his brain that's trying to figure out if each person is structurally sound.
So that is the cast. That's that is the band that was put together over the course of. I mean, it was what 11 or 12 episodes before everybody was all integrated. And as we go through the campaign diary, I like the methods, successful and sometimes not, that I used to like get you guys to the same place. That's the GM secrets.
One brief thing. I looked up young Brian Blessig, and I think you're right. Actually, that's totally like. I think of him as clean shaven, but without the beard, definitely.
Right, and I do want to point out, we've mentioned it privately, but like there has been some friction in the church about your beardlessness. Just FYI.
Oh, yeah.
As a paladin to a dwarven god, like what the hell?
Yeah, I'm hanging out in the all Dwarven district. I mean, like, you can't grow a beard as good as a dwarf, like, unless you were just genetically predispositioned for that. So why even have the little beard? Just all gone.
I think if you prayed before, he would grant you a beautiful dwarven beard, but it would have to be every day.
I have not realized until this moment that was the case. That Struana has more facial hair than Stan.
Or CliqClaq.
And it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Braided and nice. Gonna get art made at some point. It's gonna happen. Just hasn't happened yet. It's money other directions.
Right. So the next, I guess, so we'll kind of throw that question that I mentioned to CliqClaq to everybody else. Has your character progressed the way kind of you thought in your head during character creation that things were gonna? I mean, I know plot line has happened, but from the character development a little bit.
My last 3 characters were all sort of shit stirrers. They all just made life hard for the GMs. And I'm not saying this in a proud way, because if you're a good gamer, you shouldn't do that. But I'd played a 5th edition with a bunch of newbies, and then 2 different, like, they'd never played a game ever in their lives. So I'm like, oh, I'm just going to be absurd. Cause problems. The GM was pretty ineffective. Sweet people. Like, I'm gonna have some storyline over here.
Right. See, I as a GM, I love that because that's you doing my work for me.
But I mean, it was really ham-fisted, and then a couple where I just sort of given up on the group because they were pretty awful. Just, I think that everyone's heard me rant about them enough times. They were pretty terrible. All the reasons why I didn't think I was going to be able to game again until now.
Right, they'll come up in our problem player behavior series.
But that ties into your question because I've had to work really hard to not make Struana be like that. Like, earnest, but more thoughtful.
She's
maybe
so
naive.
That's
not as much. Oh my god, not even close to as
every time
much.
you beat the guards, every time, one of them had to yell at you, and the look on your face was truly Jason. You're like, what about Stan? Did he go? Has he gone where you thought he would go?
Yeah, he being a moral character, it's always interesting to see, like, well, if I am indeed a moral person and am going to follow through on these morals, then I guess I'm raising an army. You know, that I didn't expect it to go that direction, but it's just kind of what would he do? What would this person do when presented with this as a situation? It's like something that he considers to be morally wrong. It's always interesting with lawful characters and in lawful good particularly. So
right.
So yeah, he's also he's becoming sluttier than he had been. That's newer, but I don't know if that's really character development. It's more of a quirk.
Well, you got a girlfriend. So, hey, you're a charismatic hero. There's a certain sort of lady that likes. There's a couple of certain sorts of ladies that like that, and probably gentlemen and other weirder things because it's D&D.
We all get sluttier as we go along.
Right.